Hola, colegas. My name is Chris Sparks Early. I teach at Northern Virginia Community College. I've been using VHL products for about 11 years, and I wanted to share with you the reasons why I have found VIstas to be successful in my courses. I teach online, hybrid, and traditional face-to-face, and right now during the pandemic, I am teaching in the remote setting. And VIstas has just been wonderful and so helpful, especially during this new world that we find ourselves in. I wanted to share with you a few things that I have found to be the most helpful with this textbook. The first thing are the tutorials that exist for us and for the students under contextos, which means vocabulary for the textbook. The students can see really bright, modern, nice pictures of the vocabulary that they're going to learn. In each lesson, they have a visual, they have an auditory clue.
Leer una revista.
And if they get turned around, they can see the English, but they can't hear it at the same time because we want them to hear in the target
Leer
language.
una revista.
They can
Pasear
come
en
back
bicicleta.
to this as many times as they want
La
to.
pelota.
And it will be recycled and scaffolded for them throughout the lesson. So this is going to be true in every lesson. There are the tutorials for the vocabulary, and after the tutorials, we start practicing this new vocabulary. We can practice it with a partner or with a virtual partner, and then do more practice activities. These are wonderful for a flipped classroom. You can assign them, and if the students meet us halfway, they come to class prepared, and we can move on with communicative activities for a flipped pedagogy. But if you prefer to do direct instruction, then you can pull this up in the virtual text and present this as you would if you were in a traditional classroom live with your students, and maybe you are, and hopefully we'll all get there soon again. But it's here with all of these different options for us. The same is true with the grammar. Every lesson has 4, sometimes 3, typically 4 grammar points that they're teaching. They're just breaking up the verbs into smaller, more manageable chunks for the students. But in lesson 4, we have ir, and then we're going to learn the stem changing verbs and the irregular yo verbs. And there's a tutorial available. There's actually 2 tutorials available. One is a straight tutorial, and the other one is interactive, where el profesor, as he is called, gives the students a lesson on this verb. And
Hola.
halfway through,
¿Qué hay de nuevo? Ahora
there is a spot check. It's interactive. The student just has to make some choices. I just fast forwarded for time's sake. So here in the middle, after they listen to his lesson on ir,
practice.
the student now gets to practice what they just learned. And this is low stakes. They're not going to get -5. They're just going to get a yes or a no. So, nope, that one's not right. So it's taken out of the mix, and then they choose the right answer. And this is going to be the case in the tutorials as they move forward. So after this continues.
Muy bien.
And
Let's move on.
It gives examples of this new grammar point with explanation, visuals, and again, in a flip setting, if the students do this for homework and then they come to class, then you can start asking them questions. ¿A dónde vas los sábados? ¿Qué vas a hacer el jueves? Whatever it is that you do when you teach. Or if you would like to use this as your instruction, you can just pull this up and use it that way. That's the great flexibility with this book, is that there's so many different options for the different teaching styles and learning styles for our students. So this is true in all of the estructuras, the grammar points, that there is this interactive tutorial that you can assign for the students, and they can go back and watch it as many times as they would like throughout the lesson, throughout the semester. It's always there for reinforcement. At the end of the lesson, we have the repaso, and they can review the vocabulary. And one thing that's really great with this textbook is that it has a voice recognition tool. So the student has to allow their microphone and be ready to speak. So it's the same technology as the Amazon Alexa. So you want to make sure that you tell your students that it should be as quiet as possible, because if it hears a TV in the background or a dog barking, it will pick that up. So manual mode means that you just control when it records. So all this does for the student is ask them to say this word in Spanish. Now, they have seen this repeatedly throughout the lesson. So all they need to do, la pelota, I got a thumbs up. So I'll exaggerate a little bit on the next one. I have a hint, but I'm not going to use it. El basketball. It gave it to me because we know that there are two acceptable words there. And now I'll be silly. Dormir. And that's all the student gets, is a thumbs down. Let's do one more, and I'll pronounce it really terribly. La piscina. So it gave it to me. And the reason for this is that it's emulating the sympathetic listener. So if our students were to go to Buenos Aires and ask where the piscina is, a sympathetic listener who knows tourists, who knows students and language learners is going to understand them. Now, this does become a little bit tougher as the lessons go on because we expect more of our students. By lesson 8, by lesson 9, they should be able to say la piscina with sounding a little bit more authentic. But that's all it is. So we don't want to crush their little spirits, but we do want them to work as hard as possible in their oral communications. So that voice recognition, again, is under the repaso. Culture is everywhere in this book, and it's wonderful. It starts off in the fotonovela, which I will show us here in a second, but then under cultura, you have in the textbook a 2-page spread on it. Let me show you what that looks like here. I made it smaller. Now I can't find it. So I will open it again. It always happens that way, doesn't it? Oh, here it is right here. So in the 2-page spread for the culture, again, it's all integrated with the theme of our lesson, which is los pasatiempos. So it starts off talking about football, and then it moves on and it talks about famous Latinos in the sports and in the pastimes, las Olimpiadas, and there are activities. So that's under cultura. But then when we scroll down and look at the other things that are available here, we have En Pantalla, which is typically a commercial from the Spanish-speaking world. Flash Cultura is a video where there's a person that has traveled to a Spanish-speaking country and is talking with the locals about, again, whatever the theme is. In this lesson, it is El Fútbol in Barcelona. And then Panorama Mexico, we have 2 videos, short little videos that discuss pasatiempos, el centro, whatever it is, and then we have post-viewing activities. So there's so much culture to choose from that you don't have to go outside of the book looking for things. It's all here. And of course you can, but it's here for us, and that's such a good thing in these times. The fotonovela is wonderful because it takes the theme and once again uses the vocabulary, recycles everything, and I like to assign this at the end of the lesson and we read it together. I assign the roles, we read it together, we talk about what we learned this lesson and where we find it here in this 2-page spread, and then we watch the video either together, time permitting, or I can assign the video for homework with the post-viewing comprehension activities. The characters do a great job of using the new grammar and the vocabulary. The way it was written, of course, facilitates that. And it's just wonderful. The students really enjoy the fotonovela. And finally, there is a repaso of recapitulación, they call it, where it reviews the entire lesson and you can assign these or not. Credit, no credit, whatever it is that you want to do. And that's the beauty of all of this material, is that it works for us in the way that we teach. And we all teach differently, and every semester our students are different, each section is different. And so everything that's here can be used in those different ways. Under content resources, there are a lot of things for the instructor that are wonderful. You have pre-created communicative activities, practice activities. A survey used to be like a scavenger hunt, walk around the room and find somebody who, but that can be done virtually as well if you put them in a large breakout room. You have a digital image bank, and then the testing program is housed here. Each lesson has 5 to 6 versions of a lesson test, which can be edited to your liking. So my bottom line is that VIstas has really made my teaching easier. It has made my students' experience with the material very user-friendly and very realistic, because the images are so bright and it's things that they are accustomed to. You know, students are always on their phones, and they've just enjoyed it, and their outcomes have increased. I've noticed in all settings, even in this crazy remote COVID time, it is working for us. As a company, I can't say enough about Vista Higher Learning, because they are a boutique publisher and they only work with languages. I know that the attention is given to me. I don't have to fight with my colleagues in other disciplines to get the rep to pay attention to me or to answer my questions or help my students. If you put in a ticket, it's answered within 24 hours. There's a hotline for students. There's a hotline for instructors. There's always somebody willing to help you, and things get resolved very, very quickly. The attention from VIstas is really incomparable. I didn't have that before, so that was a huge plus benefit to using the products. So there it is. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to share any information or thoughts, tips or tricks with you. And I wish you the best. Hasta luego.